Hey everyone, Cameron here. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick tutorial on how we set up base installs for development sites. So essentially a base install is everything that we have pre-configured, all the plugins that we like to use, the settings that we like to have, all ready to go in one WordPress install, and we will put those typically on a subdomain. So I want to show you how to do a base install. In this case, I'm using A2 hosting, and I've got my development base all set here, and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get logged into A2, and the first thing we're going to do is add a subdomain. Now, you want to make sure that the DNS of the subdomain is pointed. So I'm going to jump into my dev server here, and essentially just make sure that you have an IP like in your DNS A record, or your name servers are pointed to the actual domain. So in this case, what we're gonna in this case, our actual domain is pointed right to this particular server. So this server, the A record of our domain is pointed there, so we're fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into subdomains. So most hosts have like cPanel. cPanel I've compared to indoor plumbing. There are some, it's very common, very normal for hosts to have it. You should have it. Some hosts don't, like SiteGround, and they've still done a really good job of creating an interface. But at any rate, what you should be able to get to is your subdomains. So once you get to your subdomains, go ahead and enter the subdomain name. Now, a tip is I like to do DEV first if it's a development site. And the reason for that is, a lot of times when we launch a new site, the client will still have the development site pre-filled in their web browser. So for instance, if it was something like infoonline.com, they type in info online, and it just defaults straight to the dev site. And even though you've launched the new site, it's going to keep defaulting to where they've been before, and they're going to say, why you changed this? Why is it not updated? Well, just add DEV at the start, and that just kind of removes some of your problems. So I'm going to do dev and then the name of my dev site. I'm going to select my domain, and I'm going to hit create. So there we go. So that's all set, and now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go back to cPanel here, and we're going to start a new WordPress installation. So what we're going to do is click install, and then make sure to set it to HTTP. Now this is the Softaculous installer. Most hosts have Softaculous. So, and that's typically found through your cPanel. So if you click WordPress install, or click on Softaculous, and then get to the WordPress installer, you can go from there. So we're going to select our subdomain, and then you can leave it named whatever, it doesn't matter. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and type in my password. Because I have a lot of sites on this domain, I do like to name my database. So here's how I do that. I will name the database something, and then do a little prefix that helps me to know what I'm actually in. This is good for security too, in case people are coming after you with SQL injections. So once you've got all that set, go ahead and hit install, and it'll take just a minute for the installer. Now, in the meantime, let's talk about how we actually back up the data. So if you go into our dev base, we have all-in-one WP migration loaded on here, okay? And what we've done is we've gone to export, export to file, and we've let that export. And now we have what's called a WPress file down here. And that's actually just a type of zip file that all-in-one WP migration uses. You can get all-in-one WP migration by just going to plugins, and then just very simply hitting add new, and adding all-in-one WP migration. And there it is. So let's, yeah, loading. We'll find it. There it is. Yep, and it's active on our site. So let's go back and take a look. Okay. So our install is not quite done yet, so it'll take just another minute here. One thing that I want to note, and we'll talk real quick about importing the site. Okay, so when you go to import a new, when you go to actually import on your new install, you're going to go to all-in-one migration and hit import, and then that's where you can actually drop your file. Okay, and it will just import there. So now part of the problem is going to be you may have a site that's larger than the free version of AIO all-in-one migration can actually handle. That's totally fine because you can just get their unlimited plugin. It's not very expensive for the functionality. So what you can do is go ahead and install that unlimited extension. So I did install it. Always make sure before you do an import to check for updates. So if it needs an update, you need to make sure to do that on both the migration plugin and the extension before you actually try to handle the update. And the reason for that is they don't want to have any compatibility issues, so they just require that that both of those be updated. So in just a second, this is going to load. And what we're going to do is make sure that we get rid of all the default plugins that the host installs. So I don't know if you've seen with like a Windows laptop, when you get that, there's all this stuff on there. There's games. There's just so much promotional content. And sometimes Softaculous will install a few plugins as well. They'll install like a caching plugin, maybe a plugin to hide the admin URL. Well, we're going to delete all of those, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second when this install finishes. So because some of them do change the admin URL, they will give you a new admin URL right here. Okay, so click on that, and then we're actually going to log into the site. Okay, now sometimes you will get this. Okay, sometimes you will get this issue. And let's see here. What we can do about this is just go up top and remove HTTPS. Now, this is an interesting one, so we're just gonna, try to reload it a second. Now, we did install it without HTTPS, so, sometimes this is just difficult, and that's okay. So let's go ahead and just go straight back into this URL. So we're going to log back into our hosting account, and we're going to just try a different browser. Oops. All right. So you just got to get logged into the cPanel here. So sometimes those HSTS issues, there's a little bit more you can do with them sometimes, but the goal is you don't really want to have SSL when you're adding your new base install. So the reason for that is, you just don't need to manage the certificates. It's just not worth it. So we'll grab this link, and then we'll go into our other browser, which in this case is Firefox. And here we go. So because we're logged into cPanel, we just need to enter our account password. Okay, so that's not going to work. That's okay. What we're going to do instead, and this is actually probably what I should have done from the beginning. What we're going to do instead is open just this URL straight up. And let's see, it's still going to give us a privacy error. So what we're going to do is actually clear HSTS for this. And this is a little bit odd, but this is a little bit of an advanced tip for you. So we're going to go to settings here. And then we're actually going to go to privacy and security. And let's see here. Actually, yeah, so we can just do this. We can go to Chrome net internals slash hashtag HSTS, and that will get us right to where we need to go. So what we need to do is delete domain security policies. So we're just going to go ahead and delete the security policies stored for our website. There we go. And then we can just refresh this. And that's going to clear out those security settings. Okay, good. So that totally did not load the page, which is fascinating. So let's just delete the S here. There we go. All right, so now, as you can see, as long as we delete that HTTPS, we're all good to go. So now, unfortunately, what has happened is we still need to delete those default plugins. And this is where things just get so fun. So let's go into our FTP. And we're going to go into the new site that we created. And all we're going to do is just delete these plugins. So an easy way to do that, is just do a directory called plugins old and drag them all in there. And that's just faster, right? Because all of a sudden they're gone. And now I can set this to delete, but they're not top level plugins. Other things I need to delete real quick are like the EU file, W3TC, advanced cache, and object cache. So we're going to delete all those. Here we go. Delete. Okay. And then plugins old, we're going to delete that as well. There we go. So, okay. Now, we're just going to log in. All right. All set. And sometimes you'll get this message too. So there are a lot of installs. I'm glad we've hit all these errors because some installs you just feel like everything is against you, and we've hit pretty much all of the errors that are available, which is fabulous. So let's see here. We do need to be able to get into here. So we'll just keep trying. Okay, there it worked. So now what we can do is add these plugins. Okay. So we're going to add our unlimited plugin. There we go, and install that. And now we're also going to just go ahead and add our all-in-one plugin as well. So here we go. Awesome. And now what we can do, just again, make sure this is updated. We already talked about that. And now you can import your new base install. So there we go. So in just a second, this will be all done. You can hit proceed to overwrite it, and then you're just going to have to go to settings, permalinks in WordPress to reset your permalinks, and then this will be replaced with your dev base. So that's pretty much how this works, and that also is a good solve for a couple of errors that you might occur along the way. Thanks.